All right, so it's Brandon here again with take two of this podcast because I recorded it earlier, but then found out that the air conditioning vent above the iMac here was actually blowing down. Thus, the whole audio had this kind of annoying wind sound going on, which I didn't realize until after the fact. So here we are with round two, take two, but it's going to be even better. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about and really dig into demystifying, cleansing, and detoxification. We're going to cover some of the common myths and fallacies surrounding this subject. We're going to talk about the reasons why we need to cleanse and detox, and then get into the really deeper underlying fundamental principles that make sense and then allow us to actually create something which is sustainable, empowering, positive, balanced, and can allow us to actually achieve longevity. So basically, we're going to break down and demystify what is cleansing detoxification, why it's important, and really what it's all about. Because if you do any amount of research, you see there's so much conflicting information, there's so much misinformation, there's so much miseducation on the subject. Yet it is an important and relevant subject, so for that reason, we need to take some time to understand it and dive in a little bit more deeply. So first, let's get into some of the common myths and fallacies surrounding cleansing and detoxification. So if you've done any amount of research, whether that be 5 minutes or 5 years, you already know and are well aware that there's so much conflicting information around this subject that it becomes really tricky and challenging to actually know what's relevant and what's useful. You might be researching and one site says, oh, you do a water fast. The next site says, oh, do a green juice fast. The next site says, oh, buy this magical crystal and put it under your bed and sprinkle it around your house and wear this magical pendant and that's all you need to do. Or this site says, well, you need to have a tube inserted into your butt and then filled with water and that's really what you need to do. Yet, we can just go on and on all day because there's so many different permutations and interpretations and just crazy information about the subject. So again, the first major issue that we can notice, the first common problem, is that there's so much conflicting information that it becomes really challenging and rather difficult to know what is relevant and applicable to our situation. Another misstep, another fallacy and myth is this idea that we have to apply extreme and really intense methods in order to be able to cleanse and detoxify. Which as we go on, you'll see how silly and absurd this idea is and how it just really is not true. And again, I say extreme and intense because to most people, this is what it's going to be and this is how it's going to come off. Because obviously, if you're in an extreme situation and you need to really make something happen fast, like you have a serious illness, or you really need to lose weight and clean house really quickly, okay, then maybe in a certain situation, a really intense method might be okay for a short time under the supervision of a practitioner, and if your lifestyle allows you to actually take time and set aside to be able to do that. Because the wrong thing applied at the wrong time for the wrong person typically will not produce good results. I say that because, you can go online and this person says, oh, well, do a green juice fast. Oh, we'll do it for 40 days. Oh, we'll do it for 90 days. Oh, we'll do it 120 days. Oh, do it for a week. Okay, but you have to drink a gallon. No, you have to drink 2 gallons. No, you have to drink a quart. No, you have to drink 4 quarts. And then it just goes on and on and on. We can go on all day about that. Another person says, oh, well, you have to only drink water or only eat watermelon or grapes for 40 days, and that'll solve your problems. But again, for most people, it's not really going to be practical. Maybe in certain situations, it can be applicable, it can be relevant, definitely. But for most people who are living a life, who are already pretty healthy, already doing a lot of things, which you probably fall into that category because you're listening to this podcast right now. And for that reason, you've probably had the experience where you're like reading about things and researching about things, just finding stuff that is conflicting, it doesn't really make sense, and maybe sounds cool or sounds like it could be helpful, but it doesn't turn out to be that relevant or that applicable to your life in the here and now. Because to me, it makes more sense to have a solid lifestyle, to not rely upon, oh, well, I'm going to do this fast and detox to do this and that. It's like, well, how about let's set up our lifestyle and set up our life as much as we can to support cleansing and detoxification while simultaneously eliminating noxious or toxic things so that eventually we don't even have to worry about it. We don't even have to think about it because we've stacked the deck in our favors. We built a lifestyle that can actually support and facilitate what it is that we want, basically on autopilot. And this is because the body is naturally cleansing and detoxifying all of the time. And you hear people say, oh, well, if you eat cooked food, then you stop your detoxification process, you stop your cleansing process. If you eat food, you stop the cleansing and detoxifying process, which is completely absurd because if you stop that process, you would die. Because it's the same way as we breathe all the time. Breathing is cleansing and detoxifying. That's the natural order of the breath. Inhale, take in nourishment. Exhale, remove toxins and cleanse the body. If we were to stop that, we're going to die. Our body's naturally eliminating waste. If we were to stop urinating or stop defecating, eventually we're going to have some serious problems because that is a natural process of cleansing and detoxifying. Our pores in our skin are constantly regenerating, constantly changing over, constantly eliminating waste. And if we were to clog all of that up, then we're going to have serious problem. So we can see just from those few simple examples that our body is cleansing and detoxifying all the time. And the idea that, well, if you don't eat a raw food diet, or if you're not a vegan, or not a vegetarian, or you don't fast, you're going to not cleanse or detoxify. It's just really not true. What most people in that case are considering quote-unquote cleansing and detoxification is usually called catabolism, or turning the body into a catabolic state where it basically starts to digest or break itself down, where your body starts to literally eat up its own tissues. Which, sure, again, there might be small instances where that's might be a good idea, but it's kind of a hard case to say, like, yeah, it's a good idea for your body to eat itself and for your body to be catabolic rather than anabolic. Because to me, if we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about empowerment, we're talking about longevity, we're talking about balance, we're talking about having a positive outlook about ourselves and about reality and about the universe, then I don't think being catabolic all the time is really what we want to go after. And I've talked with so many people, consulted with so many people, and seen in my own experience that we might do this and feel good for a little bit, but eventually that feeling good wears out and we start to go into a deficient state. And then we start to have all these different imbalances start to arise. But then we're faced with another problem. So we start to have these imbalances, we start to have these problems, but because we programmed ourselves with a lot of misinformation, we look out and we think everything's toxic, everything's bad, and the world's out to get us, and the only thing that's safe is this little box, or only this food group, or only this little thing, or only this little lifestyle. And that's the only thing that's safe, and that's the only thing that's clean and pure, which is really short-sighted and really not based on sustainability, empowerment, positivity, balance, and longevity. Because the universe is inherently, a positive place, and it's kind of goes back to something that Albert Einstein said. He said basically the most important thing that you ask yourself is this a safe and friendly universe, or is it a hostile and evil universe? And he said that's really the basic philosophical question that we need to ask ourselves. To me, it's incredibly applicable and relevant to this conversation here. So again, long story short, the body is always naturally cleansing and detoxifying all the time. And if we're interested in sustainability, longevity, and empowerment, then our question shouldn't be, oh, well, what fast can I do, or what cleanse can I do, or what this and that. It should be, well, how can I set up my lifestyle? How can I add as many things as I reasonably can right now into my life that will set it up so I just don't have to worry about this anymore, so that I'm naturally headed in the direction of success, so that I'm eliminating the noxious, eliminating the toxins, and maximizing the positive. And now this can easily segue into the reasons why we need to detox and cleanse, and the reason why we need to focus on this. And again, if you've done any amount of research, if you're at all interested in health, I'm sure seen a whole wide variety of information on this, whether that's, fluoride in water, chlorine in water, pharmaceutical drugs in water, all these different things. Not to mention all of the chemicals in our clothing, in our carpet, in the houses that we live in. Not to mention that the air inside of our house is typically, 7 to 9 times dirtier than the air outside. We're driving in our cars all day. We're breathing in car exhaust. We're breathing in the outgassing of the plastics in our car. We're putting chemicals in our body. It's just, we could really go on and on and on and on with the reasons why we need to detox and cleanse. And the reason why we need to, number one, maximize the positive while also minimizing the negative. And it really just takes a little bit of time for preparation and to just say, okay, I'm going to replace this with this. I'm going to replace that with that. And then boom, it's done. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to sit on Facebook all day worrying about this or sit on the internet worrying and researching about that. It's done. It's taken care of. I can now focus on bigger and better things. I can improve my relationships, my job. I can make more money. I can get healthier. I can exercise. Instead of wasting a whole bunch of time and energy on fear and on perpetuating and mongering fear, and for focusing on the problem. Because really we need to obviously be educated when you understand, here's the problem, here's the challenge. We need to immediately say, okay, what's the solution? How can I apply it? How can I integrate it as soon as possible so that I can move from problem into solution and then move on with my life and focus on bigger and better things. Taking a little bit deeper though, and as we touched on earlier, we talked about breathing, we talked about digestion. And really, when it comes down to cleansing and detoxifying, it's not about necessarily forcing our body to do this or making our body do that or making reality do this. It's about harmonizing with nature. It's about being more in tune with the natural world. It's about being in tune with natural principles that then, by default, allow us the results that we're looking for. Allow us more cleansing and detoxification and better health and more energy and more clarity and whatever it is that we want. Because when we harmonize with nature, we harmonize with natural principles, typically that's what we find ourselves doing. And if we choose to not do that, we basically choose to swim against the stream or try to push a boulder uphill, which sure we can do for a little while and trick ourselves into thinking we're really making progress, but eventually our willpower is going to wear out. Eventually we're not going to be able to beat ourselves up any longer, and we're going to tire out and just yo-yo or fall back into a bad habit. So really, it comes down to harmonizing with nature, applying and integrating natural principles into our life and our lifestyle so that we maximize the positive and simultaneously minimize the negative. Because again, if we're interested in true sustainability, true empowerment, positivity, balance, and longevity, then that needs to be our approach. Because that is what nature is doing all the time. We're coming up on autumn, and that's the really the ideal time where things really start to transform. Meaning all of the leaves start to transform into different colors and fall off of trees. And then they fall down into the earth and then eventually become transformed into soil. And then bacteria and other organisms break down the leaves, turn it into nourishment for the trees, and the whole cycle repeats itself. And simultaneously there's the water cycle on the earth, where water evaporates, goes up into the clouds, into the atmosphere, and then eventually it comes back down, and it makes its way through the earth, through all of the aquifers, through all of the limestone, through all the different stones, through the whole purification process, and eventually makes its way back up. And we can see just from these two simple examples, nature is always recycling, always cleansing and detoxifying. And really, nature does it far better than what we can do. Because, we create a lot of problems. We create oil spills. And so far, our technology hasn't really done too much to clean it up too well. Yet, we can take oyster mushrooms, put those in an oil spill, and those oyster mushrooms will eat up the oil and then not only detoxify the environment, but also create food. Also, the mushrooms end up being completely edible and nutritious after they've detoxified and recycled the poisonous oil. Not that you would necessarily want to go out of your way to eat them, but they've tested them and found that they're actually clean and pure and could actually be eaten. So that's just a few examples of how nature is really what we need to look to if we're trying to cleanse, if we're trying to detoxify. We really need to move away with our sort of mechanical, reductionist, poverty consciousness sort of ideas and mindsets and paradigms when it comes to health and when it comes to cleansing, detoxification, and really shift into something that's more holistic and more based on something that makes sense and harmonizes with nature, and thus allows us to have something which is truly sustainable, empowering, based in abundance and positivity, thus leading us to balance and true longevity. So taking all of these things in mind and taking into account my 7-8 years of experience with doing all of this stuff and working with people and coaching clients and really helping a lot of people transform their health, taking all of this and taking these natural ideas, these natural principles, and I'm going to be teaching a 4-week program called Everyday Detox. And it's called that because it's really, again, not about just doing this yo-yo sort of thing where, I'm going to go over here and do this thing, but then I'm going to come back over here and do that. No, it's about creating something that's real, that's sustainable, that's simple, that's easy, that is balanced and really creates longevity, hence Everyday Detox. It's about setting up our lifestyle on all facets and all levels so that it naturally supports cleansing and detoxification. Not only on the physical level, but within our environment, within our shower, our bedroom, our sheets, our clothes, the things we put in our body, things we put on our body, obviously our food, our water, our air, but then also our emotions, our psychological outlooks, our belief systems, our spirituality. These things need to be cleansed and detoxified as well. Because just like there's physical toxins in the environment we need to avoid, there's also a lot of mental, emotional, and spiritual toxins which we need to avoid and transform and let go of as well. So that's basically what Everyday Detox is about. It's going to be a 4-week live training program, and every week we're going to meet up and I'm going to share with you all the things that we can do to transform and create a solid, holistic lifestyle that naturally supports real, sustainable, and balanced detoxification and cleansing, so that we no longer have to really worry about it, so that we no longer have to stress, because we know that we're maximizing the positive as best as we can. We know that our lifestyle will be set up in such a way that will naturally guarantee success. So the class is actually going to start next Monday, which will be September the... Let me pull up my calendar. It's going to be next Monday, September the 10th. And the class is going to begin at 8 p.m. So if you want to learn more about that, go to HyperionAcademy.com or click the link below on this page. And registration is open from now until Monday at 5 p.m. That's because obviously the class starts at 8, so I'm going to have to close registration down so that we can start class and have everyone on the same page. Now, if you're wondering, okay, well, I can't make the live class, it's no problem. You're going to get all of the recordings, because basically what happens is I do the class, and then shortly after the class is over, I post the recordings as well as the homework and all of the supplementary information that goes along with that. So not only are you going to get access and be able to participate in the Everyday Detox training program, but you're also going to get access to the Longevity Blueprint 4-week training program that I did last month, as well as the hours and hours of other podcasts, videos, ebooks, interviews, and articles that are on the site, plus the exclusive Hyperion Academy discount, the Hyperion Herbs, that you can use as many times as you want while you're a member of the Hyperion Academy. So again, I'm really excited to be sharing this class. I'm really excited to be teaching it because, again, cleansing and detoxification is really important. It's something we need to pay attention to, but it's something we need to do in the right way. We need to harmonize with nature and apply these natural, holistic principles to create something which is really solid and common sense. So I look forward to talking to you soon, and I hope to see you on the Academy. If you have any questions or comments, definitely send me an email or post a comment below, and I will talk to you soon.